Welcome to my video. I am the Gremlin and we're going to be bench testing a Mercury ignition box. We have a good coil here. I don't really believe I need to go over on how to test that. And then we have a Mercury trigger distributor sitting there that we're going to go over. On the trigger assembly, it's a little harder to test without having a Thunderbolt ignition analyzer, but we're going to do the best we can for you. Let's start with the switch box here. This side, you have a white, we get power when the key is on, red here, which has power all the time. Brown is for your coil. See if I can get a little more light over there. In black, or it's also got a green paint part onto it, it's your green wire. This goes to your coil. So your coil has this wire going to it, and then the other wire coming out of the coil goes to a ground that we have grounded out here. Now on this side of the box, you have a black, a white, and a brown. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. So black, white, brown, they go to your Mercury distributor with the trigger in. So if this is sitting out or if it's in your motor, you'll have this wire goes to your coil. This wire you don't care about because that's going to your tachometer. These two wires, of course, this one always has power. This has power when the key is on. And we're using the ground stud here. So I'm going to give this thing power. Now, I put my jumper between the two nuts because I want power to go to the red and to the white when I give it power. And then I have my ground that I'm going to come over here and I'm going to ground this thing out. So now I have power going to my switch box, and I have my switch box grounded. I have my coil wire coming to the green or black on this side of 4. The coil is also grounded out. And then, if I can get it in here, here is a Mercury spark gap tester, and it also will let you see the spark. So that's sitting here. You'll probably hear it snap more than you'll see the spark. So that's sitting here. Now, with a set of jumpers, you're going to come over to this side. So we're going to move all this over to this side. Since you have power over here, you know, you got your power and that. We went over that. Now over here on this side, you have brown and white. And we're going to jumper the brown and white together. So now these two are jumpered together, connected, leaving this one alone. This one we're going to run a jumper to ground. When we ground it, you should hear it snap, and that's checking the switch box. Just using another jumper here. Let's see here. You hear it? Let me turn off the light, see if we can get it. If you've seen a little blue spark, but that's what that is. That's telling us our switch box is good. So if this is in your motor and you take all the wires off of it, just remember, put power to these two here. Make sure it's grounded out. Ground being the biggest thing here. Most people forget that these motors, a bad ground will cause you havoc like you will not believe. Ground is probably the most important thing. If you got to add ground straps, do so. But ground, big problem. So we know the switch box is good. We know the coil is good over here. Now we're going to work on testing that. So again, back to this. So if I went a little quick, we hooked our power up over here. We jumpered the white and the brown. You can see the black leads. And then our red lead here, we're running it to ground. You can ground it against the box if you wanted to. I went right over here to ground. Well, right there. Just went to ground so it would spark. So testing it, real simple. Tie these two together, use this. This goes to ground. Make sure you got power here to the white and the red over on this side. Brown, nothing. Black or green goes to your coil. Make sure everything's grounded out. Have some way to have a gap. You can use a spark plug leaning up against it. You can use many different things. Just don't hold on to it. You won't like the shock you get. Okay, and like I said, this is just a real quick video. Let's go to the trigger assembly. Since we know the Switchbox is good and it tests out beautiful. Just to do it one more time, you hear it pounding away. Okay, now to test the Switchbox, or the trigger, excuse me. Oh, come on off there. If these wires here are hooked up and you have taken off your timing belt, and I would suggest you take off your timing belt, or you can just turn it over, either way. And run your wire out of your coil. Do not run it out of the cap, because if you get spark from your coil doing this test, then you know it's in your cap, your rotor, or something of that nature. Because if you run it and look at spark plug wire number 1 through 6 or 1 through 4 and you don't get spark, you go, oh, it's my trigger. Not necessarily. It could be your cap, it could be some wires, it could be your rotor. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. So now here I've hooked up my 3 wires, and be patient with me just a second here. I'll do this as quickly as possible. That happened to be the brown wire. This happens to be the white wire. And this happens to be the black wire. Okay, now I have that all hooked up, and let's see if it works with it all hooked up. Now, if you're watching me, I'm moving around. See this wire here? This is a jumper that goes to my ground, which is right here is my ground wire. Now, the reason why I want to show this is if this trigger assembly is not grounded out well, and I mean very well, it will not work. You can hook these wires up here all you want, and you will not get spark. This trigger will not function unless you have it well grounded out. So we're going to give it juice. If you can hear it, it's sparking away. Now watch. I'm going to remove this ground. Nothing. Nothing at all. Put the ground back up. So keep that in mind, that ground plays a big part. But if you have this set up like I got it, and it does not spark, then there's been a defect that has gone bad in your trigger. A cause a lot of time of trigger failure and switch box failure is people accidentally hooking the battery up incorrectly, so positive to negative, negative positive, or they happen to short out something in the ignition system, uh, accidentally arc out the key switch, something like that, due to the fact there is no fuses in this old system. So if you short it out, you literally are shorting out the trigger assembly, you're shorting out the switch box. It just, these things here, two things they absolutely have to have is 12 volts of power, and they have to have good ground. Now, if you reverse that, they don't like it and they tend to burn up. So just keep that in mind. This is just a quick video. Had to get it out there for one of our customers. I'd love to do a more in-depth one, I guess, a little bit on the Mercury Thunderbolt ignition tester. I'll quick see if I can grab it and bring it over here. You know, if you're like me, I do a lot of repairs on this stuff. This, let's see here, get it like this. This is a Mercury Thunderbolt analyzer. And with this thing, I can test all parts of this ignition system without having it in the motor or anything else. You can see I got all my wires, leads to it. But with this here, you can test every part of a Thunderbolt ignition as its components are. Nothing hooked together. It's all done. It has procedures. But most people don't have these. They're hard to find, and if you do find them, they're awful expensive. I believe I paid $500 for mine originally years and years ago. So keep that in mind. But that's our quick little video. Hopefully it helps. Gremlin out.